Am I live? Am I live? Hello, good morning. Very, very warm welcome to this one more session on psychology. Can somebody please give me a thumbs up or tell me in the chat if I'm visible so that I know that technically everything is okay and we can proceed. We still have 1 more minute to go for 11, so we are expecting a few people to join in, but we'll start exactly at 11. Okay, so I guess I'm now live and we'll wait for just a few more seconds exactly at 11 and I'll present the screen. Hope all of y'all are doing well. Okay, so let's present and begin for now. Presentation. Okay, am I right? Okay, I hope my screen is now visible to all of you. Please let me know, please give me a thumbs up or type something, say yes or something in the chat box so I know that the screen is visible to all of you. Yeah, okay, so I guess the screen is now visible. Thank you very much everybody, and once again a very warm welcome for to this session. We are going to talk today about information processing theory of memory. Now, why are we talking about this theory in the first place? And oh, I'm sorry, before that, let me please introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Zareen Setna. I'm a clinical psychologist and I've been an associate professor and head of the psychology for more than 30 years. Okay, and I'm now trying to reach a large number of students and trying to help them to understand basic concepts of psychology. So we'll be talking about information processing theory of memory. And why are we talking about this theory? Memory is one of the very, very important parts of human behavior. Psychology, as you know, is already a science of human behavior. Memory is a very important part of human behavior. And when you're talking about memory, one of the theories that is very, very core, basic foundational theory is information processing theory. Now, why are we talking about this theory and why this special session for this theory? Because in every subject, there are always going to be certain theories which are considered foundational. Foundational meaning they are the theories which explain the basic concepts of that particular subject, and they are considered classical, scientifically proven and used widespread. Okay. Information processing theory is one such theory. So in today's session, we will be talking in detail about this theory. We'll be talking about what is memory. We'll be talking about how memory works. Okay. Now, what exactly do you mean by memory? Memory is one of those few concepts which is very, very difficult to define in one single sentence. Okay. You can't give one straightforward definition to memory, but memory can be seen as any information that you have learned and it has stayed with you for a long time. Okay, so learning that has persisted over time, meaning you have learned some information. Okay, it could be mental, cognitive information, it could be emotional information, it could be physical, muscle information, but you have learned that information and it has stayed with you for a fairly long amount of time. Now, why is that information with you for a long time? Because it has been stored. Somewhere your brain has stored that information. Not only is the information stored, but when you need that information, when you require that information, you are able to retrieve, you are able to bring it back to your memory. Whenever you need it, that information is available to you. So stored information can be retrieved. This process is what we call memory. Okay. So you have learned something. It has stayed with you for a very, very long time. It is stored safely somewhere and whenever you need it, the information is available to you. How do you measure memory? Memory can be measured in three most important ways: recall, recognition, and ease of learning. Now, what is recall? Recall is trying to remember information which is already stored in your memory. Okay, so you know that you have learned some information, you know that information is there somewhere in your brain, you are trying to remember it. Recall, you are calling it back. Okay, so for example, when you are solving fill in the blanks problem, okay, dash is the capital of India. Now this information is there somewhere in your memory. Okay, you just have to remember, try to remember the exact city which is the capital of India. So in your memory, all the major cities are already there: New Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Chennai, and so on and so forth. Okay, you just have to remember which one is the correct answer for this fill in the blank. Dash is the capital of India. That is recall. Okay, information is there in your memory, you have to search for the right one. Recognition is much more simple. Recognition is when the information that you're searching for is right in front of you. You know, like multiple choice questions. The question is given to you, 3-4 choices are available to you in front of you, which means the correct information is already there in front of you. You don't have to take the trouble to search in your memory. All you have to do is, out of the information available in front of you, you just have to pick up the right one. Okay. So again, if you take the same example, if it's a multiple choice question, dash is the capital of India. Now you'd have 4 choices: New Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, Chennai, or maybe more, you know, Kolkata and so on. Now out of this available information, you simply pick up the correct one. Recognition is always easy compared to recall, because in recall, you have to search your entire data available in your memory to get the right answer. For recognition, limited amount of information is already there. Out of that small amount of information, you just pick up the right one. Okay. If you're cooking a new dish and you forgot which masala, which ingredient goes into it, you already have 5-6 masalas in front of you. You just have to recognize the correct one. No, last time I cooked, I put this. Let me try this. Okay. So recognition is always little more easier compared to recall. The third measure of memory is what we call as ease of learning. Ease of learning means that once you have already learned the information, that information is always going to be stored in some part of your memory. Okay, somewhere deep down, that information is available. But over a period of time, we forget. You know, like today, for example, if I ask you, give me the names of all the teachers who taught you in school. Now, if you have already, you know, moved out of school and it's been many years, you will remember certain names, but you have already forgotten certain names. Okay. But if I give you a list of all the teachers, it's easier to relearn now, because the moment you will see the list, oh yes, I had this teacher and I had that teacher. Okay. So information that was learned once upon a time, but now it has become, you know, hazy. You have almost forgotten it. Relearning that information becomes easy. That is why today, if I teach you something that you have already learned in school or college many years ago, it will be easier for you to relearn it because you had already done it once. Okay. So recall, recognition, and ease of learning, relearning, are 3 measures of your memory. That's how you will measure memory. If you are a student of psychology and if you have already reached your 3rd year or final year, honors year, or you are in masters, then you will probably do some experiments in your psychological laboratory, which will teach you how to use recall, recognition, and ease of learning to test memory. Okay, when you are trying to test memory, we use these measures. Moving on, when you talk about memory, memory is made up of 3 components: encoding, storage, retrieval, or recall. Now, what are these 3 components? These are actually the 3 processes through which information has to pass. Okay. The first is what we call as encoding. What is encoding? As your screen tells you, converting sensory data into a language that is understood by the brain. Now, don't be scared by all these fancy sounding words. Okay. How does any information reach your brain? The only way information can reach your brain is through your sense organs. Eyes, ears, nose, skin and tongue. Okay. That is why we call them sense organs. These organs sense. They sense information. Your ears will sense sound waves. Your eyes will sense light waves. Your nose and tongue will sense chemicals. Your skin will sense pressure, temperature. Okay. So these organs are sensing information available around us. Any information which enters our brain has to enter through these five. These are like 5 gates of our body. Okay. There is no other way information will enter inside. It has to enter through any one of them. Right. Now, when your eyes see something, it is a light wave which is entering. When your ears are listening something, it is a sound wave which is entering. When you taste something, it is actually the chemical that your tongue is tasting. Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is different organs are collecting different types of information. But your brain has to understand all of that. Your brain has to understand light waves. Your brain has to understand sound waves. Your brain has to understand chemical. Okay. That is what we call encoding. Code means message. Okay. Coding means trying to understand the message. Encoding, the process in which you try to understand the message. Okay. So code word, as we say, na? Okay. So when all the information enters in your sense organ, it goes to the brain and your brain converts it into a language where it will be understood and stored. Okay. So encoding becomes the first stage. Then comes storage. So much information has gone in the brain, but all that information is useless if your brain cannot store it. Correct? And therefore, storing, keeping it for a long time becomes important. So that's retention. Retention, to retain. Retain matlab to keep it, to save it for a long time. Third process is recall or retrieval. Retrieve means to bring it back. Recall, calling it back. Okay. So retrieval or recall mean the same thing. All the information which was stored in your brain, now you bring it back whenever you need it. Okay. So your memory has to be made up of these 3: encoding, storage, retrieval. If there is any problem in any one of the stage, memory will suffer. Okay. So if encoding was not proper, you did not take the information in a proper way, no memory is formed. Encoding is okay, but you did not store it properly, memory is lost. Encoding was done okay, storage is done okay, but when you need the information, that information you're not able to recall. Okay. Again, memory is lost. Okay. So for efficient memory, working memory, you need all 3 processes to work very well. All right. Now this was background information about what is memory. After this, we now move on to actual topic of the day, information processing theory. Okay. For all those of y'all who have joined me online right now, please feel free to write your comments in the chat box. If you have not understood anything, or if you want some extra information, or if there is a doubt, please write, and I will try to, while I am online, I will try to address your concerns to the best of my ability. Okay. All those of you all who are not able to join online but are going to see this video much later, once again, please feel free to address your doubts in the comments. I will definitely go back to it later on and reply and solve your doubts to the best of my ability. Okay. Yeah. So we are now coming to the topic of the day, information processing theory of memory. This theory was given to us by two cognitive psychologists, Atkinson and Shiffrin, way back in 1968. Okay. Now, interestingly, Atkinson and Shiffrin both share the same first name. So, it is Richard Atkinson and it is Richard Shiffrin. Okay, very interesting coincidence. So, Richard Atkinson and Richard Shiffrin, both of them are cognitive psychologists. Cognitive psychologists are people who try to understand how our brain works, how our brain deals with all the information that is there inside. Okay. So they were conducting research on how memory works. And in 1968, they came up with this theory. Like I said, the theory is very, very old, which also means over all these years, 50, 60 years, so much of research has already happened on this theory. And that is why this theory is a very solid, empirical, foundational theory. Okay. Now, what is information processing theory telling us and why this name information processing? This theory's name is information processing theory because it explains how information is processed to become memory. Okay. Just like if you want to make biryani, you need rice, you need onions, you need tomatoes, you need masalas, you need a few vegetables. Okay, you need many ingredients. And then you have to process all of that in different ways. And the final result will be your pulao or biryani dish, right? Similarly, to create a memory, your information has to go through a lot of processes. This theory explains that process, and that is why they call it information processing theory of memory. Okay. Because this theory is given to us by Atkinson and Shiffrin in certain books. This theory is also known as Atkinson-Shiffrin model of memory. Okay. So if you're referring to a psychology book and over there you see the word in Atkinson-Shiffrin model of memory, don't be scared. It is the same theory that we are talking of. In fact, there is a third name also, but we will talk about it much later. I don't want to confuse you right now. Now, what is information processing theory talking about? Information processing theory says that for anything to become memory, for memory to be created, information has to pass through three stages: sensory register, it is sometimes called as sensory memory also, short-term memory, STM in short, long-term memory, LTM in short. So there are three stages and the information has to pass through these three stages for it to become memory. What we will talk about is, we will talk about each of these three stages in great detail and we will see how information passes from one stage to the next. Right. Let's start with the first stage, sensory memory or sensory register. Now look at the words very carefully over here. Sensory. Once again, we are using the word sense. Sense organs. Okay, we are going to talk about our 5 sense organs because they are going to capture the information from around us. Okay. Because this information is going to be available in our sense organs, we call it sensory register. You know how you note down in register, right? 5 people entered the building, the security notes down the names of all the 5 people. You are registering, okay? How many students present in the class? Teacher takes down attendance. She or he is registering, okay? So register, we are using the word register because all the 5 sense organs are capturing the information. Okay. Now we have 5 sense organs and all the 5 sense organs are working together. You know, it's not like right now my eyes are seeing, so everything else will shut down. It's not like that, right? I'm seeing things, but I'm also listening, but I'm also smelling, I'm also tasting, and I'm also feeling. All of them are working at the same time. Not only that, every sense organ is collecting huge amount of information. My eyes are not seeing one thing at a time. Right now, if you're watching this video, you're not just watching the video. You're also watching what is happening around you. Okay, your eyes are also collecting information from everything that is happening around you. Your ears are listening to me, but your ears are also listening to everything else that is happening in the background, right? Somebody is talking to you. There is a music being played out on the street. Okay, a child is crying, a dog is barking. You are listening to so much. Your nose is getting so much stimuli. Okay, your skin is feeling the fan or the heat. Okay, your skin is feeling the pressure of your shoes. There are so many sensations your skin is feeling. Same with your tongue. What I'm trying to tell you is our sense organs are constantly collecting large number of information. Suppose I have to count exactly how much information right now my sense organs are collecting. Not possible. And that is why we say, look at your screen please, capacity. What is the holding capacity of your sense organ, sensory register? Unlimited capacity. Okay, unlimited. There is no way you can count. There is unlimited information that all your sense organs are collecting. So the capacity of your sensory register is unlimited, not countable. The information is captured at the same time by all the sense organs. Okay, so that is the first part. We are talking about the capacity of the sense organs. All this information which your sense organ has collected, for how long will it remain in your sense organs? Short period. Just 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, only 3 to 5 seconds. So right now, if you're looking at the screen, your eyes are collecting all the information available on your screen. But you turn away. Just for 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, you will still remember what you saw on the screen. But after that, the information is lost. You're listening to me right now. Switch off the volume, go away somewhere. Whatever I said will remain in your memory, in your sensory register for 3-4 seconds. Lost after that. Okay. Same with all other information. So the capacity of sensory register is unlimited, large capacity. But storing period is very less. So much information, but it stays only for about 3, 4, 5 seconds. After that, it is lost. Why? Why like that? Because most of the information that we are collecting is really not necessary for us. All the background noise that you are listening to, everything that you're smelling, everything that your skin is feeling, everything that your eyes are seeing, not really important, not really necessary. You're not going to need it just now and you're not going to need it in future also. Okay. So what your brain does is, your brain does not like to overload information. Okay. Your brain has limited capacity. How much information will it hold? Okay. If it starts collecting all this information and storing, it will crash like your computer, like your mobile. If there is too much data, one day it crashes. So what your brain does it, in order to work efficiently, okay, in order that it doesn't crash, it starts filtering out. So at the first stage itself, at the sensory register stage itself, your brain filters out what is not necessary. Your brain knows this is important, I'll keep it, but that I don't need. And therefore, information only stays for 3 to 5 seconds and after that it is lost. Most of the time it is lost forever. Okay. So duration is very short. How much information you will retain? For how long you will retain? Only 2 seconds or maybe little more than 5 seconds, 6 or 7 seconds. A lot of it depends upon your age, your intelligence, your distraction level. Okay. So research has shown that young adults, meaning people from 21 to 35 roughly, or 21 to 40 roughly. This is what we call young adults, roughly, okay, approximately. These are the people who have the most efficient sensory register. They are, maybe because that's where you are very young, youthful, healthy also, and more mature, more responsible. You're used to multitasking. You're used to doing so much work. Your brain is already trained, okay? And therefore, young adulthood is where maximum information is going to be stored for a long time in sensory register. Similarly, intelligence, obviously, higher the IQ levels, you are able to retain the information for a little longer time. Okay, if the IQ levels are less, your retention capacity is little less. Okay, but it can be improved. So please don't worry about that. That can be worked upon, completely manageable. Level of distraction matters. Okay, you must have students, as students or even otherwise, you know that when you're reading something or when you're listening something, and if there is silence around, you're sitting in a peaceful, quiet, cool atmosphere, you're able to better understand, better focus, and remember that information for a much longer time. But imagine you're sitting and reading something and there is a loud noise playing in the background. That will distract you. Somebody is constantly calling you, please come here, do this for me, please come here, do that for me. If you're constantly distracted, constantly running around, there are chances that very little information will be retained for a very short time. Okay, so these factors will affect. So far we have spoken about capacity and we have spoken about duration. So your sense organs can hold a lot of information, but for a very short time. There are different types of information that your sense organ will hold. Mainly two types, iconic and echoic. Iconic information is all the information that is collected by your eyes, visual stimuli. So everything that you see, that is iconic information. Echoic, auditory, ears. Auditory means ears. Okay, stimuli is information. Okay, so all the information collected by your ears, that is echoic. Okay, why are we not talking about the remaining three sense organs? Because maximum information that is collected is always collected either through eyes or ears. Okay, nose and tongue, you are not constantly eating, right? 24 hours, 24/7, you are not constantly eating. So your tongue is not going to be tasting something all the while. Similarly with smell, constantly you're not going to be getting any smell or aroma, right? Same with skin, constantly there is no change in the sensation. But eyes and ears, constantly some information is coming, and that is why we pay slightly more attention to that. Iconic, all the information your eyes are collecting. Echoic, all the information your ears are collecting. Okay, so we have covered the first stage of information processing theory, sensory memory or sensory register. So now you have collected, you're walking on the road, okay, you're walking on the street, you have collected information, okay, and that information is there with you for 3 to 5 seconds. Now what? After 5 seconds, all that information will be lost. If all the information is lost, how will memory be created? And therefore, something very important, attention. Okay. Now, what is this attention? Out of all this information which has come to you, information which is paid attention to will be moving on to the next stage of your memory. Okay. So, when you pay attention to certain stimuli, that information now moves on to the second stage, short-term memory. But the question is, out of this unlimited information which is coming to you, how will you pay attention only to certain things and not to other things? There are certain factors which will decide what you will pay attention to. We generally pay attention to anything which is loud. Okay, so right now I am talking. Suppose suddenly there is a loud bang outside, I will pay attention to it, right? You are listening to me. Suddenly somebody is bursting a cracker, you will pay attention. Your attention shifts to a loud noise. Similarly, bright, something which is very shine and too many bright colors or sparklers, your attention quickly shifts over there. Okay. Something which is novel, something which is new, you have never seen before. Okay, something extremely different from what you have seen up till now. That always catches our attention faster. I'm sorry because of my slide arrangement, you're not able to see the last square. I've written moving over there. I'm typing it in the chat box also. That's moving. Okay. Any information which has movement, okay, speed, movement, that always catches our attention. Okay. Anything which is attractive, beautiful, good looking. Now the problem with this word attractive is, what is attractive to me may not be attractive to you. What I find beautiful, you may not find beautiful. Okay. So it's a very subjective term. But if you find something attractive, if you find something beautiful, okay, I love that dress or I love those shoes, your attention moves to something that you find beautiful. Something that is distinctive, very different from all the other information available to you. So if all the children are standing in front of you, there are 50 children standing in front of you wearing school uniform, but one child is wearing a regular civil dress, immediately your attention moves to that dress because that child is wearing something very different from others. Okay. Look at your local train if you're from Mumbai, then in Mumbai we have local trains and different compartments are painted differently, right? So if you see green stripes, you know it is second class ladies compartment. If you see red stripes, you know it is a first class compartment. So it is distinctive. It is different from other compartments. Okay. So anything which is slightly different will catch your attention. Then of course your interest, what you are interested in. Okay. If I'm someone who is very, very interested in makeup, okay, and if I'm walking on the road, my attention will shift to a shop which sells cosmetics, okay, because that's my interest. If I'm a student who is very interested in reading, then when I'm walking on the road, I might not notice that cosmetic shop, but I will notice a bookshop, okay. So depending on your interest, our attention always goes to what you're interested in. And of course, need. What you need right now. Okay. I have gone out in the market to buy medicine. So right now my need is medicine. My attention will quickly go to a pharmacist shop, to a druggist. Okay. I will not pay attention to any other shops. I'm only searching for a pharmacy. Okay. I want to buy rainy shoes because monsoon is approaching. I will ignore all other shops, but I will only search for shops, shoe shops, which are selling rainy shoes. Okay. So what you need right now will decide what you're paying attention to. Okay. So summing up this slide, a lot of information was captured by your sensory register. Out of so much of unlimited information which is available, in the first 5 seconds, remember, duration is only 3 to 5 seconds. So in the first 5 seconds, when you pay attention to something, now that information enters the next stage, short-term memory. Okay. Now it enters short-term memory, the second stage of your information processing theory. What about the storing capacity of this short-term memory? Look at it. Please go back to your screens. Slightly more. Earlier, when it comes to storing capacity, it is less compared to sensory register. Your sense organs could hold unlimited information, but short-term memory can only hold 7 items at a time. Okay, you can only remember roughly 7 items at a single time. Okay, now in the bracket it is mentioned plus or minus 2. What does it mean? It means when we say 7, I'm not saying exact 7. You will only remember 7 names or you'll forget. You'll only remember 7 numbers. You will only remember 7 items. No, it means you may remember slightly more or slightly less. So 2 more, maybe you'll remember 9 or 10. 2 less, maybe you will remember 4 or 5. Okay, so 7 is an average number that we are talking about on a large scale. Now, what does it mean? It means that if I want to remember, if I pay attention to certain things and if I want to remember certain things for a little longer time, I can only remember roughly 7 items. So, for example, suppose I'm going to a market and I have to buy 6 things. Okay, there are 6 different things that I have to buy. I have to buy soap, I have to buy a toothpaste, I have to buy one medicine, I have to buy I have to buy an umbrella. Okay, I have to buy some vegetables. So there are 6 things that I have to buy. Okay, if it is just about 5, 6 or 7 items, then maybe I will not write it down on a piece of paper. Because that much I trust, I will remember. When I go to the market, when I see, recognition will happen. Remember recognition we spoke about? So when I go in the market, I will see Shoe shop, I'll remember, oh, I had to buy shoes. I will see a pharmacy and I'll remember, oh, I had to buy medicine. I will see a vegetable vendor and I'll remember, oh yes, I have to buy vegetables. So recognition will help me and I will remember all the 7 items which I have to buy. Okay. But suppose I want to buy 15 items. Research shows that you may not be able to remember 15 items. You're likely to forget a few. You'll remember 6, 7, but remaining you'll forget. Okay. That is why when we have a large number of information to remember, we usually jot it down. We note it down, right? You write it down on a piece of paper or you write it down now, of course, digitally on your mobile or somewhere. Okay. Now there is something very interesting. I want to buy 15 items, but I don't want to write it down. I want to use my memory. Okay. Then what I can do? I can use something called as chunking. Okay. So out of 15 items, there were 4 vegetable items, eatable items. Okay. So I had to buy ginger. I had to buy chili. Maybe I decided to buy cabbage today. And I also decided to buy cauliflower. Okay. Now these are 4 items which I'm talking about. Chili, ginger, cabbage, cauliflower. Instead of calling it 4 items, I'm grouping it together because they are all vegetables. They are all eatables. And that is why I don't consider it 4, I consider it 1. It has become 1. Okay. I also wanted to buy a few cosmetics. I wanted to buy nail polish. I wanted to buy lipstick. I wanted to buy foundation. So there are 3 items. I'm not calling it 3. I'm grouping it together into cosmetics. So now cosmetics becomes second group. So first group is vegetable, second group is cosmetic. Okay. So instead of 4 vegetables and 3 cosmetics, now I have to remember only 2 things. I have vegetables and cosmetics and so on and so forth. Okay. I'm grouping items. This is what we call as chunking. Okay. And that's how, even though your brain can only remember 7 items, what I'm doing is, it's like sort of cheating, you know, I'm finding a loophole. Okay. And therefore, I'm actually able to remember a lot number of items because I have grouped them. Okay. So that is possible. You will require training. Your memory has to be trained for that. Okay. Now I've done all this. Okay. I'm going to the market. I've done my chunking. I can remember 15 items. But for how long will I remember that? 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, 20 to 30 seconds. So if you are trying to dial someone's phone number, now most mobiles are now about 10 digits, right? 8 to 10 digits. Okay, that's a long number. If I repeat that number for many times, I will remember it till I dial the number. But as soon as the call is over, you will forget that number. Your OTP is 4 to 6 digits. You will only remember it till you are using it. But after that, you will forget it. Okay. So, whatever information that enters your short-term memory, it will only remain for 15 to 30 seconds, which is slightly more than sensory register. Sensory register, your information remained only for 5 seconds. Over here, at least it is 20 seconds, which is a long time. And that 20 seconds allows you to do so many things so that the information enters long-term memory. Okay. Short-term memory is very vulnerable. It is very fragile. It is very weak. Okay. Your information will quickly disappear if there is interference. Let's do an example experiment right now. Try to remember a random number. Okay. Write down a combination of number. Write down any combination of number on a piece of paper and try to repeat it 5, 6, 7 times. Okay. Right now you will remember it. If you repeat it many times, you will remember it. Now, try to go in the kitchen, prepare a cup of tea for yourself and drink. Or start music and listen to one song. After that, try to recall that number. You have forgotten. Maybe you'll remember a few numbers here and there, but not in the series. Okay. This is what we mean by short-term memory is very fragile. You will be able to remember many items, but only for 20-30 seconds. After that, a lot of information is lost. Okay. It quickly decays if there is interference coming from elsewhere. Short-term memory is a temporary storage. Okay, it is not for always. Okay, just because I remembered 4 vegetables and 3 cosmetics, I will only remember till I go to the market, do the shopping and come back. Okay, but I'm not going to remember it for all my life. It's just temporary storage while you need it. So when I go and stand in front of the vegetable seller, I'll quickly try to recognize what were those 4 things I had to buy: ginger, chili, cauliflower, cabbage. Okay, till then I can get it. After that, it's forgotten. Okay, so that's short-term memory. But again, my problem is not solved, because when I want some information to remain in the memory, I don't want it for 30 seconds. I want it forever. You know, if I'm a student and I'm studying, I don't want to remember it only for 30 seconds. I want that information till I do my exams. In fact, I want that information forever. I'm going to need that information even in my career. So then what? For that, information has to enter long-term memory. How will information enter long-term memory? By these 2 processes called rehearsal. Okay? Rehearsal, practice. You know, like if you're working in a play, if you're acting in a play, what do? You have rehearsals for 1 month. Hai na? You repeat your dialogues, you do your costume, wear your costume, where you will stand, when you're supposed to stay, what you're supposed to do. All that is practice, right? That is what we call rehearsal. When information has already entered short-term memory, but you want to remember it for a much, much longer time, now there are 2 ways in which you will practice or rehearse: maintenance rehearsal and elaborative rehearsal. Okay, what is maintenance rehearsal? Please go back and pay attention to your screen. Repeating information several times till it is memorized. Okay, so you just repeat it again and again and again. For example, try to recall any of your nursery rhyme. Okay, right now you can do this experiment while you're watching this video. Do it. Try to remember Jack and Jill. Try to remember Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Try to remember Happy Birthday song. Okay, I'm sure everybody remembers. Okay, why? Because you have repeated it thousands of times. Okay, how many times in your life have you sung Happy Birthday to you? Thousands of times. How many times when you were a child, you were saying, Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Every day you went to school, your teachers made you repeat it. Every time you came back home, your parents made you repeat it. Every time guests come, your parents would say, Chalo bacha, twinkle, twinkle bolo. And you started. You didn't realize, but for hundreds of times, you were repeating that same information. When you were a small child in nursery, you did not even understand the meaning of this poetry. What Jack and Jill means, what Happy Birthday means, what Twinkle Twinkle means. You didn't understand the meaning of every word. But you still remembered because you repeated it so many times. Okay, that's maintenance rehearsal. Even today, you are able to remember entire songs. And now there are so many songs which you are able to sing along with the singer, right? Entire song you are able to remember. Even if that song is a 10 minutes long song, you're still able to recall it and remember it. Because you have repeated that song so many times. You like it so much that you keep hearing it every day and you keep trying to sing along with it. Now it's there in your memory forever. Okay? So when you repeat any information again and again and again, there are chances that you will remember it for a very, very long time. Okay? Second type of information is elaborative information, rehearsal. Elaborative rehearsal is where you don't have to repeat it many times. You just have to understand, okay? Understanding the concept or gist of the information. For example, suppose you're listening to a song for the first time, okay? If you're listening it for the first time, you will not be able to remember the whole song. But you, at the end of the song, you will understand what that song is about. Is it a romantic song? Is it a patriotic song? Is it a sad song? Is it a devotional song? Okay, you will understand the gist. You will understand what this song is trying to say. Okay, so sometimes you understand information in the first shot itself. You don't have to repeat it again and again. I don't have to listen to the song 10 times to understand the meaning of the song. Meaning I will understand in the first time. But if I want to remember every word and every note, then I'll have to do maintenance rehearsal. Okay? So when it comes to studying, when you're studying for your exams, any subject, you need both types of rehearsal. Well, first, you need to understand. Whatever you are trying to study, you first need to understand the concept. Once the concept is understood, then you can't sit back and say, oh, I have understood, I can write my answers. No. You will also have to do maintenance rehearsal. Okay. After seeing this video, you will understand what is information processing theory. But you will not remember the whole theory. You will not be able to write answers unless and until you read it many, many, many times. So in order for information to go to long-term memory, you need both elaborate information rehearsal and maintenance rehearsal. And that brings us to the last stage of information processing theory, long-term memory. As the word tells you, it is long-term. Information which enters in your long-term memory remains there forever. Okay, it will remain there forever. But certain factors will affect, and that is why some information will remain forever. For example, you will never forget your name. You will never forget the name of your parents. You will never forget which city you grew up in. Okay, certain information you'll remember forever. Some information you'll remember for a few years and then forget. Like the name of the teachers in school and college. Maybe you'll remember for a few years, but after that you'll remember their faces, but you'll forget their names. Okay. Some information you'll remember much faster. Especially information which you think is not very necessary and you don't rehearse it, you'll forget it much faster. But relearning is possible. Remember we spoke about relearning in the beginning? Right. So information which is there in the long-term memory is there always. Even if you think you have forgotten, you revise it. You revise it and the information comes back to you. Okay. How much information can your long-term memory store? Unlimited. Again, there is no limit. Okay. Unlike a computer or a mobile or a server, your brain doesn't crash, thankfully. Okay. So as much information that is going, your brain will find a way to store it. Okay. So there is no limit to, your brain will never tell you, oh, this is enough, I can't remember anything more than that. No. You live for 100 years, information will keep collecting and the memory will keep being built. Okay. Duration, again unlimited. Like I said, if you live for 100 years, you'll remember certain information for 100 years. No limit over there also. Long-term information or what we call as long-term memory is of two types. You have explicit memory and implicit memory. What is explicit memory? Explicit memory is made up of two types of memories, episodic and semantic. Okay? Episodic memory, look at the word episodic coming from the word episode. So, any important event of your personal life which you'll remember forever. Okay? It could be any special moment, happy moment, sad moment, okay, traumatic moment, anything, but it was special for you. For example, the day you got your 10th standard result. It's a very special day for every student. We all remember that day for a very, very long time. You remember what time you got up in the morning, when you went to school, you collected your mark sheet, you saw your result, you informed your parents. You will remember everything in detail. Okay? The day you get married, the day you get your first child and you become a parent, the day you take up a new job, the day you leave your job, the day you enter into a new home. Okay? So all these are special moments for us. Similarly sad, the day someone expired in your family, the day somebody had an accident, okay? The day there was a natural calamity and you lost a lot of valuables, all right? So anything which was special, it could be good, bad, ugly, but it was special for you. These are personal memories which we remember for a very, very long time, okay? That is what we call episodic memory. Semantic memory, the word semantic means understanding, okay? Semantic memory is your memory about general knowledge, about facts. Like I know that grass is green because of chlorophyll. I know that Delhi is in north and Chennai is in south of India. I know that Portugal is a European country. These are just general knowledge information which I have collected over the years. Okay. So these are just facts which I'm aware of. I learned it in school. I heard it from people. I saw it in movies. I read it in papers. But just general information which I've collected over the years, and it will remain with me for a very, very long time. Okay. So that's explicit memory. Something that can be seen and observed and measured. Okay. I can talk about it. Implicit memory is not something which can be directly observable, but it's just there and you know it's there. Like implicit memory is again made up of two types. You have what we call as muscle memory or procedural memory and then emotional memory. Okay. Muscle memory is when you teach your muscles to do something, muscles remember it forever. When did you start walking? When you were somewhere around 1 or 2 years old, right? By the time you were 3 years old, you knew how to walk, how to climb stairs up and down, right? You're never going to forget it. Your legs will always remember how to walk. You sleep for 10 hours in the night, you get up in the morning, it's not like suddenly your body has forgotten, I don't know how to walk. Even after 10 hours, you put your feet on the floor, you start walking, okay? You learn some sport, you learn tennis, badminton, cycling, swimming, okay? You don't practice it for many, many months. You may feel, oh, I've forgotten. I used to cycle in childhood, but now I don't know if I remember. You know, 4 years ago, I was playing badminton. For 4 years, I have not played. Now I don't know if I how to play it. You feel you have forgotten. But the moment you climb a cycle, starting will be a little shaky, but you'll soon get it. You hold the badminton racket in your hand. In the beginning, you'll find it a little tough, but within a few seconds and a few minutes, you'll start playing very well. Okay. Because once you train your muscles to do something, your muscles remember it for a very, very long time. Okay. And what your muscles have remembered, they will do it with little bit of revision, they will do it. That's what we call procedural memory or muscle memory. Then there is emotional memory. Emotional memory is very closely related to your personal experiences, personal relationships, and personal feelings. Okay. So, for example, in your classroom, there are so many students around you. Some of them are very good friends and you're very fond of them. The moment you see them, your heart feels good. There is a smile on your face and you feel happy. There are some students who are always troubling you, harassing you, insulting you. The moment you see them, you have a negative feeling. Okay, either you feel angry, you feel sad, you just want to walk away from there. You don't want to be there. Okay. So different people or different places make us feel certain things, right? For example, there is one shop in your area. Always you have been cheated over there. Every time you go there, that shopkeeper has always cheated you. Either given you less money in return or not given you good quality stuff. Now that shop you are associating with negative feeling. You don't feel like going to that shop. Suppose you leave India and go away for a few years. You come back after 5 years and you enter that shop. The moment you will enter that shop, immediately that negative feeling comes back to you. Okay. People who made you feel happy, you meet them after many years, immediately that happy feeling comes. People who made you feel angry or upset, you meet them after many years, again that same feeling comes back to memory. Interestingly, not just that. Suppose there is some person who has always insulted you, made fun of you, humiliated you. Okay. Every time you meet that person, you feel upset. No doubt about it. But interesting part is, suppose you meet somebody who looks exactly like that person. Complete stranger. That person has not done anything to you. That person has not harmed you in any way. But that person looks like the other one. Even this person creates feeling of negativity or upset in you. You don't want to be next to that person. You don't feel like going and talking to that person. Because your memory remembers that negative feeling. Okay, that's what we call emotional conditioning or emotional memory. Okay, all these memories are long-term memory. They will remain with you forever. Okay, so we have spoken about sensory register, we have spoken about short-term memory, we have spoken about long-term memory. Let's combine all of it and in a nutshell. So if you look at this diagram, this helps you to understand the whole process once again. So we start with sensory. Please pay attention to the diagram. So in the beginning, you have sensory input. Input, information is coming in. So sense organs are collecting the information. All of that enters your sensory memory, eyes, ears, nose. If you pay attention, it will enter short-term memory. Look at the arrow. But if you don't pay attention, look at the below arrow. If you don't pay attention, that information is lost. If you went out in the morning today and you have come back home, do you remember every single detail that you saw or heard on the street? No. There are hundreds of things that you saw and smelled and heard. But after you reach home, you don't remember everything. You only remember certain information because you paid attention over there. And now that information enters short-term memory. In short-term memory, if you rehearse it, it will enter long-term memory. But if you don't rehearse it, again it is lost. Okay, now information goes in your long-term memory. Okay, so let's take the example of studying. You are sitting in the class and you're paying attention. You have understood the concept. Elaborative rehearsal has happened. Understanding has taken place. Then you go home and do a lot of revision. You read it 50 times. Maintenance rehearsal also happened. And now that information is there in your long-term memory. After 4 months, you are giving exams. Okay. Obviously, before the exams, you have done your revision and everything. Okay. When you sit in your exam hall and you see the question paper, how are you going to write answers? Because the information is in the long-term memory. It is there. At that moment, what your long-term memory does is retrieval, recall, what we spoke about in the beginning, right? So when you see the question paper, immediately your brain starts searching for the answer inside. And at that moment, all the information which is in your long-term memory will come back in your short-term memory. Remember, short-term memory is known as working memory, temporary memory. Right now, I need the answer. So the question paper says, define psychology and explain various research methods of psychology. Information is there in your long-term memory. Quickly, that information will enter your short-term memory and you will write down the entire answer. Your short-term memory is working right now so that you can write down the entire answer. Okay, so that's how your entire process of memory works. Okay, this diagram will help you to understand in a nutshell. I also like to give one example to understand how memory works, encoding, storage, retrieval. Suppose you have 5 lakh rupees right now. Okay, now today you don't need those 5 lakh rupees. What are you going to do about it? Usually you will put it in the bank. So what did I do? Encoding. I went and put it in the bank. I converted my present cash for future. I don't need it today, but I'll need it someday. So I put it in the bank. What is the bank going to do? Storage. It will store my 5 lakh rupees for me. Okay. So I had money. I had 5 lakhs. I deposited in the bank. Deposit means encoding. Bank is keeping my money for me. Storage. After 1 month, somebody is getting married in the family and I want those 5 lakhs. I go to the bank and I withdraw. That is retrieval or recall. Okay, I withdraw my money. So encoding is depositing information. Memory will store it. And when you need that information, there is withdrawal. There is recall or retrieval. I hope I have been able to simplify your information processing theory for you. In the future sessions, we will talk about many different aspects of memory, and particularly we will talk about forgetting. If there is memory, there is also going to be forgetting. So what is forgetting? How it works? How you can improve your memory? These are going to be some of the future sessions. Okay. So if you're interested, kindly continue to join. It would be nice if you could follow the channel on YouTube and click the notify button so that you don't miss out on any of the channels. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending the session. It was a joy teaching you all, and I hope you all enjoyed learning it too. Do let me know of your suggestions, your doubts, your comments in the comment box. Okay. Whenever you're watching it, please do drop in a comment, so that will help me to improve and become better. Thank you so much, Ishan. I'm glad you liked it. And if you want any more information on various aspects of mental health, then you can always follow me on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook for more tips on mental health. Thank you very much, everybody, and we end the session right now till we all meet again in the next session. Have a happy